One. Good evening, Internet. My name is the Marvelous Monstrosity Morph, and I am joined tonight by the prolific Professor Parcx for a unique StarCraft experience. That is right, the two-way mirror match. I am joined by Parcx. Parcx, this is Flash versus Fantasy. How you feeling? What you expecting?
Feeling real good here. I'm expecting a very fun match. These two are possibly the two best Terran players out there, although I might get a little flack considering that Fantasy is probably on the same level as 4GG and Lita, although, you know, Flash definitely on top of every Terrans out there. Very interesting game here. Flash about 70% versus Terran. That is, I think, his best matchup. Fantasy is 54% versus Terran, so definitely Flash is going into this game with a significant statistical advantage here.
That's right, he is not only the person who we are wanting to favour on paper, he is also just the person who I think in a lot of people's hearts they want to favour. Now, just to give you a bit of framing for what's happening in this match, this is played in the Winners League. So as you know, it's the Winners Stayed On format. Now, we're looking at Flash right now. And just because it gets confusing sometimes in mirror matches, if you think about it, a Flash is a bright yellowy white colour. So Flash is the bright yellowy white. And my Fantasies contain lots of blood, so Fantasy is the red player. Now, this is Flash's second matchup coming into this. He had minimal difficulty in his previous match before this, so I'm sure he has plenty left in the tank going up to this. And I do believe actually that it's 3-2 the score at the moment, so if Flash wins this it will go up to 3-4 and he will actually win the set for his team. So a lot riding up on this match on the map on the map Colosseum II, sorry. Now, one of the big importances I find personally about this map is the mobility issues that are produced. Parcx, what do you look for overall in Terran versus Terran, and how do you think it's going to be affected by this map?
Yeah, definitely mobility is huge in terms of Terran versus Terran, where the match is played all on siege tank positioning and dropship play. This map has a lot of features in it, a lot of ridges and walls, and definitely going to provide us with a very interesting TVT here. Looks like Flash going for a standard opening, whereas Fantasy, I don't really know what he's going for yet. I don't see the Parcx, so he's... is he going for a 14 command center here? This is totally crazy from Fantasy. Although maybe not that crazy considering that Flash is located at a cross map position, and that 14 command center is okay versus Terran if you can defend it. And definitely it takes a long time for Terrans to get their armies up to fight your 14 command center, and it'll come down to scouting basically.
Yeah, definitely. Scouting will take a lot longer because of this. Obviously, Fantasy doesn't know that he's at a cross position, so he is definitely taking the risk. But as it's said so many times in StarCraft, when you're up against a player who is believed to be better than you, it is almost the standard play to take a risk. And often risks can pay off. And hopefully, you know, I don't think it's a huge risk necessarily going for the 14cc. It would have been if Flash had scouted in the right direction, but thankfully luck is definitely on the side of Fantasy for the early stage of this game.
And yeah, it looks like Flash's scout is within Fantasy's base right now. He is going to see that late barrack and that 14 command center. We'll have to see what his response to this will be here. Probably, I'm guessing a 2-factory push in order to damage a Fantasy, to use this window of opportunity to do some damage. Looks like Flash pushing in with a bunch of Marines here. Probably going to go for a bunker rush here. He does have an SCV in the vicinity, and yeah.
Definitely, yeah, right. He was so close to losing that SCV there. The SCVs of Fantasy coming off the line, and now we see something that Flash is synonymous with, the expanded proxy going on there, building that starport slightly out. And once again, the SCVs just don't know what they're doing. They're going in, they're pulling back, they're going into pulling back. But once again, crucially, Flash's SCV once again manages to cheat death and survives. with only those 2 medic marines left. Just marines left, sorry, no medics whatsoever involved. And oh, Flash loses his SCV, so he's unable to pull off any forward Parcx position, and he needs to try and use those marines to stop Fantasy's bunker from going up. Otherwise, this early little bit of marine harassment will not be able to break the front door, and he will be delayed, and then Fantasy's economy will be severely more, well, double in fact, Flash's.
Yeah, the game is not looking good for Flash right now. We'll have to see what he decides to do with that starport of his. Looks like he's going for dropships or maybe cloaked wraith. This is a clever move from Flash here, considering that Fantasy it will take him a while to get any sort of anti-air up, considering he has gone for a 14 command center and he is going to be severely delayed in terms of tech. Looks like a dropship isn't coming out here from Flash, so Flash going for some early dropping in order to deal with his 14 command center of Fantasies. And Flash is pounding away at that barrack right now, but that is not gonna matter much. Fantasy can just repair that barrack with his SCVs. Not looking good for Fantasy right now.
No, definitely. I mean, Fantasy really needs to be able to soak this. And interesting enough, he's got some spinning going on at his machine shop. I think that's really, that was Flash actually, sorry, I do believe, who had some spinning going on. So very good for him. Also, as I'm sure you noticed, Internet, there is a starport of Fantasy going up. So both players do have the Fantasy, and now here is the drop. And even more crucially, Flash has yet another one of his SCVs there. So now it looks like he's going for some sort of a bunker positioning at the expansion. SCV is there, but there is a siege tank maybe to take it down. The bunker is starting to be built. There's just so many forces. SCVs coming off the line. Just those marines lost in a swarm of SCVs. The bunker goes down. The SCV is still there. I don't know if that has survived. No, it has not. And now more tanks coming in. More SCVs coming off the line. Fantasy is having to been defending with SCVs again and again and again. So it looks as if, despite Fantasy going for this early expansion build, Flash might actually be the one with the superior economy due to the heavy SCV losses Fantasy has been suffering almost constantly since the beginning of this match, and now we're starting to see Flash wraiths right there. But oh my god, we saw the flashing there at the control tower, so Fantasy's going for cloaked wraiths.
Yeah, Fantasy going for Cloaked Wraith. I think Cloaked Wraith is the only thing that can save him right now. He does not have enough troops to deal with the units of Flash constantly purring into his base right now. Looks like Siege Tech is up for Fantasy, so Flash will not be able to affect additional damage to the natural expansion here, but that Wraith there is going to be able to take care of that. No, he's not going to be able. Fantasy does not have the anti-air to deal with the air units of Flash. He needs some Goliaths or something here. He's waiting for those Cloaked Wraiths to come out. It'll basically come down to whether or not Flash can deal enough damage before Fantasy's Wraith come out. And I believe Flash has already spotted that flashing control tower there, so he is probably building an academy inside of his base.
Definitely right, and also I think it was interesting of Fantasy that he sent his first Wraith that popped out up to the top to try and keep it away from the battle and hopefully remain hidden. But unfortunately for Fantasy, Flash did start to push down the ramp and got in visual range of Flash's control tower, saw what exactly was going on, and now, as you can see, is pulling back just a tiny bit with his forces. As you have mentioned, the flashing is done, and there is now the Academy of Fantasy going up now, and here is the Cloak Wraith, just able to have free reign over these skies. He rules the skies of the map right now, and Flash's Wraith Force has just been completely picked away, and now pushing out with the bunker of Fantasy, probably going to use it to spot for his own siege tanks and try and retake that ridge just by his base. And now actually an SCV of Fantasy is moving up towards Flash's base. I don't know if that's going to be maybe to try and get a scout in, or if Fantasy's going to go for some interesting proxy, and now a second starport for Fantasy as well.
Yeah, this has been such a back and forth game here. Both players getting the necessary tech to deal with each other just right on time. As you can see there with Fantasy just getting siege tech right on time to deal with Flash's drops, and Flash getting and Fantasy getting the cloak right on time to deal with Flash's raids. So impeccable timing for Fantasy. Huge props to him. Looks like he's going for 2 ports raids here against Flash. Definitely going for something special against this better Terran opponent opponent here. It looks like Flash has already broken Fantasy's door there, and he's going to be in a good position to move into Fantasy's base, but he needs additional detection here if he were to push into Fantasy's base, considering those cloaked wraiths are there. He only has one comsat scan, mind you.
Yes, he will be able to hold this position though, thankfully, as he does have those 2 missile turrets there, so the wraiths will be less effective as spotters for his siege tanks. Now it looks as if Flash is going to maybe push out with another drop yet again, and we'll have to see some really good play from him. As you mentioned, we do have that academy, we do have the scans for Flash, and now Fantasy moving out, having a look what's going on. He has found the proxy starport of Flash, so that may actually go down to these raids, while the barracks is taken off, taking heavy fire from those raids. Now just one cloak raid coming in, managing to stay out of range of the missile turret. Hopefully it will be able to pick off. Now another air battle going off over here, coming in from the other side with his other raid force, but they are taking lots of fire from the missile turrets, and only one